I want to make it clear, there's going to be a Democratic majority in just over a year. And to the FCC chairperson and anyone involved in these dirty deals, get a lawyer and save your records, because you're going to be in this room and you're going to be answering questions about the deals that you struck and who benefited and what the cost was to the American people because that happened.
It's been a long Trump 2.0. Go ahead and take this picture. We need to laugh about something. Everything that Trump is doing right now seems to be to avoid this Epstein list. So that's why it says Trump's Golem and Epstein files. Please go ahead and take this and use it for something. I am going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. I'm going to talk about free speech and where we seem to be heading. But let's talk at least. We got a little mockery going on. We need this. So the press office of Gavin Newsom says, Fox must suspend garbage Greg Gutfeld ASAP. Not only does he need a fake laugh track, he makes things up, is not funny, and gets so easily triggered like a snowflake when Jessica Just the Facts Tarloff speaks. Fox should suspend him immediately, send him to News Nation, Next Star, where his jokes belong with the other failures, ratings crashing, people begging for it to stop. Fox, do the right thing, or I will make the FCC take care of you, take care of you, in quotes. Final warning, GCN. And this one, it says Dozy Don, who looks awful recently, the hands, is lying on live television. His so-called FCC chair, Brendan Carr, must immediately apply the made-up Jimmy Kimmel rule and kick Trump off TV. Let's go, Brendan, GCN. And we're going to get to Brendan Carr and the FCC and all of that. But yes, Donald Trump looks like warmed up poop. Look how brown he is. I am actually a brown-skinned lady. Why is he so brown? But this is the quote. We won in 2020 big. We have already solved inflation. We solved prices. I know that I was drinking coffee this morning, my fave, Cafe Bustillo, and it was like $6.50. I remember when Cafe Bustillo, like earlier this year, was $3 and some cents. Prices for my favorite coffee have doubled. Yay, that's not just inflation, that's tariffs. That's where we are. So he is a liar in chief. And if anybody actually grocery shops, they know that he is a liar. That's why this person posted this picture where Donald Trump wearing this hat saying, I lie about everything. He lies about everything. John says, all hail Chairman Trump and his much funnier new regime. Avert your gaze from his mighty fists. They are too powerful for you to understand. And Jeffrey Epstein never existed. Thank you for your loyalty in this matter. And then you have this picture of Chairman Trump. You need a propaganda arm in order for fascism to work, and they are executing it masterfully. And going into this next segment of my video is kind of depressing because you know that there's going to be a chill effect on free speech. So this is the next post from the press office. It says, a reminder, the Trump administration spent 4 years planning a full authoritarian government takeover, and in just 8 months, they've implemented nearly half of it. People acted like Project 2025 was not a thing. We were all like raising awareness. We were sounding alarms. So many people acted like it was not real. And so then the press office shared these two screenshots. This first person at the top, Kevin McHale, says this was all in Project 2025, by the way. And then Brendan Carr, head of the FCC, shares this picture. He's like, yep, this is what we're doing. This is what we're planning. I haven't checked this tracker, but it says this is a comprehensive community-driven initiative to track the implementation of Project 2025's policy proposals. Yay, we're headed directly into, or we are in, The Handmaid's Tale, the reality show. We're living The Handmaid's Tale right now. I went over to Gavin Newsom's page, and this is what he shared, a screenshot of Stephen Miller's post from 2022 saying, if the idea of free speech enrages you, the cornerstone of democratic self-government, then I regret to inform you that you are a fascist. And that's where we are. He knows that this is fascistic, but they are walking right into it. And his people, MAGA people, are cheering the squashing of freedom of speech. And it is wild to see. especially when one of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed was an executive order to bring back free speech to America. So this was Donald Trump on January 20th saying, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. The Midas Touch posted this saying, it's almost like he was completely full of or something. Adam Greenwood shared this picture, calling Stephen Miller Pee Wee German, calling him the Führer's Reich hand man, because that's where we are. We are headed to, we're in a fascistic government right now. This is Gavin Newsom sharing a screenshot from Brendan Carr of the FCC. This is from 2022 as well. It says, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. That's what Brendan Carr was saying in 2022. And someone else shared another old tweet from Brendan Carr saying, should the government censor speech it doesn't like? Of course not. The FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest. Okay, so that's Brendan Carr. That's old Brendan Carr. This is Brendan Carr in 2025, like this morning. He says, broadcast TV stations have always been required by their licenses to operate in the public interest. That includes serving the needs of their local communities. And broadcasters have long retained the right to not air national programs that they believe are inconsistent with the public interest, including their local communities' values. I'm glad to see that many broadcasters are responding to their viewers as intended. Now, I am going to read to you what Jimmy Kimmel supposedly said that was so inflammatory. I'm going to read it to you because I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. I'm not up late and I don't watch TV. But as I read it, this was not as inflammatory as they're talking. He wasn't even joking about Charlie Kirk. He was more so talking about Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is basically running all of these organizations. Donald Trump is running everything. We have a propaganda machine. This is fascism. Rapid Response 47 is the White House's propaganda arm, and Brendan Carr reposted this. Brendan Carr went on Fox and said, these were local TV stations licensed by the FCC. They pushed back on Disney and said, we don't think that this type of programming is responsive to the needs of our viewers in Utah and Pennsylvania. I think this is an important step in the right direction. So that's what Brendan Carr said on Fox News. Now I'm going to read exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said. I can't play the clip. It's copywritten. I'll get a strike, but let me read this to you. All right, so this is what he said. In his show's opening monologue on September 15th, Kimmel said supporters of Donald Trump were desperately trying to characterize Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old charged in Kirk's murder, as anything other than one of them. Last week, Kimmel also criticized Trump for saying Democrats were responsible for Kirk's death at a Utah campus on September 10th. Here's exactly what he said. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving on Friday. The White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism, but on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this. Yes, he's at the fourth stage of grief, construction, demolition, construction, because he's talking about the ballroom, his gold, gaudy ballroom. It says, this is not how an adult grieves, the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay? And it didn't just happen once. And then we installed the most beautiful chandelier. Responses you wouldn't believe. Who thinks like that? And why are we building a $200 million chandelier in the White House? Is it possible that he's doing it intentionally so he can be bad about that instead of the Jeffrey Epstein list? This is not about Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel will be fine. Jimmy Kimmel is a millionaire. I was listening to the Midas Touch Network. They have already offered him a spot on their podcast or whatnot. He's going to be fine. But this speaks to their power. they're going to start harming other people that say things or don't toe the line with this administration. He is just the beginning, and he's not been the only one. Like this person says, Stephen Colbert highlights Trump's hypocrisy, CBS fires him, Matthew Dowd calls out Charlie Kirk's divisiveness, and MSNBC fires him, Jimmy Kimmel jokes about Charlie Kirk's killer, and ABC fires him. Brian Kilmeade says homeless should be killed, and Fox does nothing. Any questions? And this is the perfect time to remind us all what Brian Kilmeade said on Fox News.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
And it actually happened when we were together on Wednesday, Lawrence. In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion. Lawrence, back to you.
All right, thanks, Brian. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Right, more Fox in the weekend.
More reaction. Brian Allen says Jimmy Kimmel Live pulled off air. Why? He joked Kirk's killer might have been pro-Trump. Within 48 hours, Trump's FCC threatened Disney ABC's license, and they caved. That's not cancel culture. That's state censorship in real time. Former President Barack Obama says, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. And then he shares this Vox opinion piece. It says, let's be clear about what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. I'm only doing a piece of this. It says, let's be clear about what just happened. Jimmy Kimmel, a prominent late night comedian, was just taken off the airways because the Trump administration didn't like what he had to say and threatened his employer until they shut him up. The Trump administration, it appears, has learned to effectively weaponize the regulatory powers of the federal government to punish speech it doesn't like from people it doesn't like. This is a favorite weapon of modern autocrats. Its deployment against Kimmel is a qualitative escalation even above the administration's previous acts of censorship, like targeting the author of a pro-Palestine op-ed via deportation. And the thing is, people understand that that there can be consequences of free speech. Free speech violation, though, is when it comes from the government. This is the government cracking down on free speech. So this is not just this is not just ABC, Disney firing an employee that's underperforming. This came directly from the government, and that is the reason why this is a violation of free speech. And this is the reason why people need to care, because our government is squashing free speech. This was a comment underneath that post from former President Barack Obama saying, in recognition of Charlie Kirk's commitment to free speech, we are calling for the firing of anyone who criticizes him. This is the reason why I said just yesterday, if you have your employer on your social medias, strip it away. If you have anybody on your job that's on your social media pages, block them. You need to clean up everything. We're about to enter in a world of snitching. Everybody is about to start snitching to save themselves. So many people are going to be excitedly trying to dox people. That's the reason why you need to clean up your online presence. Make sure that if you Google your own name, that your address doesn't pop up, that your phone number doesn't pop up. Google yourself. And use apps like Delete Me or Optery, that's Optery, Optery, to clean up your online presence. Use the paid one so that they go out there and clean your online presence up. We are in a time frame where people are about to start doxing you for your beliefs and the things that you say. And this right here, this screenshot, this meme, take this and use this. This person posted this. It says, the same people who laughed at the idea of immigrants being eaten by alligators, cheered when President Biden announced he had cancer, mocked the death of George Floyd, make jokes about State Representative Melissa Hortman, a wife and a mother being assassinated along with her husband and dog, cheered for Kyle Rittenhouse, and mocked the death of President Jimmy Carter, and they do so much more. They laugh. They call everybody false flags at these school shootings. They are not serious. They say that it's all because of the gay people. That's the reason why they got shot at these mass shootings. It's always something coming from the right. They don't give a damn about life, but they're in charge right now, and they're about to start squashing free speech in the name of Charlie Kirk or whatnot. So that's the reason why it says irony may never recover. They want us to be respectful of Charlie Kirk, but they have never been respectful. They laughed about Nancy Pelosi's husband being beaten. Trump himself laughed about Nancy Pelosi's husband being beaten. That's who these people are. They laughed at David Hogg and all of those kids from Parkman, Florida. They laughed. They called Sandy Hook people false flags. They laughed about Uvalde. They don't care about life, but all of a sudden we're supposed to be respectful. Like, we're in topsy-turvy land at this particular juncture. And this person, the neighborhood publicist, says, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, both getting cooked this year, should tell everyone where we truly are. If two beloved rich white men can't say what they want to say, we are past emergency level of danger. Yes, these white men got canned. All of us are, we're up for grabs. All of our livelihoods are up for grabs. I'll end with this once again. Trump on January 20th, 2025 says, I will sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Free speech that his administration approves of, and that's it. That's where we are. I'm sorry. I know that this was heavy. This is heavy. We're at a critical time, and we have to see this stuff. And sometimes the videos are not all jokey, haha. We got to be serious and see where we are right now. So join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And the next video is going to be a good video. It's going to be a laughy, jokey, haha video. The next video, I promise. And that'll come tomorrow anyway. This is my final video of the night.
I'm on the train, but there's another wrinkle in the Jimmy Kimmel Live situation that I wanted to tell you about, and that is this all now comes down to the decision that will be made by Disney CEO Bob Iger. Disney, of course, owns ABC. Iger also finds himself in the position where he needs the Trump administration's approval for a big business deal. Disney, Hulu want to acquire Fubo, and he needs the Justice Department, the Trump Justice Department, to approve that, because there's a lot of concern that would consolidate too much sports streaming in one company. So Bob Iger is going to have to make a decision, a legacy-defining decision, that could put him at odds with the Trump administration, or it could put him at odds with the principle about whether or not a government should be pushing private companies to cancel speakers and speech they don't like, which is what happened, obviously, when FCC Chair Brendan Carr went on a far-right podcaster and criticized Jimmy Kimmel for his comments that he made Monday, and called on local TV stations to stop airing Kimmel's show. He also called on Disney to take action. He did not say ABC, he said Disney to take action. As we all know, we talked about this yesterday, the biggest owner of local TV stations in the country, Nexstar, which needs Brendan Carr's approval for a big purchase, $6 billion worth of acquisition of its biggest rival, which also owns local TV stations. they need Brendan Carr's approval, and they almost immediately did exactly what Brendan Carr said, and said they weren't going to bring Jimmy Kimmel show to their audience anymore. So while there is this principle that many of us care about, which is governments should not be taking definitive action to stifle speech, and especially when it comes to critics and speakers they do not like, there is also a lot of money to be made by a lot of very, very rich men, and they need Trump's approval to make it.